You've been lied to about Cinderella. Not by Disney, by everyone. For over a century, you've heard the same story. A kind girl, an evil stepmother, a magical knight, a prince who saves her. True love wins. But the original versions, they're nothing like that. In the real Cinderella, stepsisters don't just mistreat her. They hack off their own toes trying to squeeze into the glass slipper. Birds don't sing sweetly. They attack the stepsisters at the wedding and peck out their eyes. And in one version, Cinderella herself is manipulated into committing murder. Tonight, we're reopening the case file on Cinderella. Because once you understand what this story was actually about, you'll never see it as romantic again. Let me show you what Disney wants you to believe. Sweet girl, dead mom, evil stepmother forces her to clean and scrub. Then one magical night, poof, a fairy godmother appears, gives her a dress, and she goes to a ball. She dances with a prince. She loses a shoe. He finds her. They get married, happily ever after. It's adorable. It's harmless. It's a lie. But here's what you already knew as a kid. Something was wrong. Why was the stepmother's hatred so extreme? Why did she spend every single day tormenting one child? Where was Cinderella's father? How does a man watch his daughter become a servant in her own house and do nothing? And why is Cinderella rewarded for never fighting back? Disney didn't accidentally leave those questions unanswered. Disney was sanitizing a survival story from Europe's most abusive households. Because the original versions, they're not fairy tales. They're crime scene reports. Let's start with the Grimm brothers, 1812, Germany. This is the version they recorded from oral tradition. Picture this. A prince arrives at a house with a golden slipper. He's searching for the girl who wore it at the ball. The first stepsister tries it on. It doesn't fit. The mother pulls her daughter aside. She hands her a knife. "Cut off your toe," she says. "When you're queen, you won't need to walk." Think about that for a second. A mother handing her child a knife, telling her to mutilate herself to fit a beauty standard. The girl does it. She cuts. She bleeds. She forces her mangled foot into the slipper. The prince helps her onto his horse and they start riding toward the castle. But then something happens. Two doves on a tree branch cry out, "Turn and look, turn and look, blood is in the shoe." The prince glances down, red stains spreading through the gold fabric. He brings her back. The second stepsister tries next. Same knife, same mother, same desperation. She cuts off her heel. More blood, more doves, more lies exposed. Finally, they bring out the girl who's been sleeping in the ashes, the one nobody thought was worth asking. The shoe fits perfectly. And at the wedding, those same doves land on the stepsister's shoulders. They don't sing. They attack. They peck out their eyes. This is what German children fell asleep to. This is what mothers told their daughters by firelight. In Grimm's version, the happy ending is built on a staircase washed in blood. But if you think that's disturbing, the Italian version takes it even darker. The earliest known literary version of Cinderella comes from Giambattista Basile in the 1630s, Naples. A girl named Zezolla. Zezolla is tormented by a vicious stepmother. Every day, abuse. Every day, humiliation. One day, a new woman enters the house, a governess, a tutor. She sits next to Zezolla and whispers, "I could be a mother to you. I could protect you, if only she were gone." The governess is kind. She's gentle. She's everything the stepmother isn't. And then she tells Zezolla exactly what to do. There's a moment when the stepmother is reaching into a large wooden chest for linens. The governess nods at Zezolla. Zezolla's hands tremble as she approaches the chest. The lid is heavy. Her heart is pounding. She grips the edge and slams it down on her stepmother's neck. Silence. A body crumples. Zezolla kills her own stepmother, not because she's cruel, but because an adult she trusted manipulated her into it. Here's the horror. It doesn't end there. Her father remarries. Guess who he marries? The governess, who immediately brings in 6 daughters of her own and treats Zezolla worse than the first stepmother ever did. In this version, the child isn't just a victim. She's been weaponized, used as a tool by adults playing power games. In a world where grown-ups only speak the language of cruelty, the child learns to speak it too. In this version, Cinderella doesn't just survive the horror, she becomes part of it. So what are we actually looking at here? Strip away the magic. Strip away the fantasy of rescue. And you're left with the same brutal household in both versions. A dead or absent mother. A father who refuses to see what's happening under his own roof. A new wife who views the girl as either competition or a burden she can exploit. And a child turned into unpaid domestic labor, treated as less than human. In modern psychology, there's a term for this girl, the scapegoat child. One child in the family who absorbs all the blame, all the hatred, all the punishment. It's not random, it's strategic. It keeps the family's dysfunction hidden. Here's how it works. You try to resist, you get crushed, you try again, you get crushed harder. Eventually, your brain stops trying. It's not weakness, it's survival. Your nervous system learns a brutal lesson. Resistance equals pain. This is called learned helplessness. It becomes safer to wait for a miracle than to fight back. And here's the context that makes this even darker. In early modern Europe, death rates were catastrophic. Mothers died in childbirth constantly. Fathers remarried within months. Blended families weren't unusual. They were everywhere. And daughters? They had almost no legal rights, no inheritance, no say in their own futures, which made them easy to exploit, easy to discard, easy to turn into servants in their own homes. These stories weren't pure fantasy. They were the evening news, just told in a way people could bear to listen to. Now let's talk about the symbols. Because every single detail in Cinderella is evidence. Her name isn't Cinderella because she's clumsy or accident-prone. Cinderella, the girl who sleeps in the cinders. The hearth was the lowest place in a medieval house, the place where trash burned, where the fire died, where nobody wanted to be. Making her sleep there wasn't neglect. It was a statement. You are not family. You are not human. You are ash. The ashes are a mark of social death. She's not hidden away in a locked tower like other fairy tale victims. She's visible, in the same house, but completely erased. The slipper isn't a romantic keepsake. It's a test of compliance. Your body must fit a tiny, rigid, impossible standard. If it doesn't, you're expected to cut pieces of yourself away until it does. And notice who administers this test. Not Cinderella, the prince, an outsider, a stranger, a judge who knows nothing about her. She has to pass inspection from someone who's never seen her pain, someone who doesn't know her story, someone who only cares if she fits the mold. The slipper is a loyalty test to a beauty standard enforced with a blade. The ball isn't prom. It's not a romantic dance. It's a marriage market. Girls are displayed, examined, sorted by value, by beauty, by dowry, by family name. For Cinderella, the prince isn't true love at first sight. He's the only escape route from a house that's destroying her. The ball is her one chance. If she doesn't get chosen, she goes back to the ashes forever. Think about the desperation in that room. Every girl there knows her future depends on being selected by a stranger based on how she looks in a dress. That's not magic. That's that's survival. And finally, the fairy godmother, the magical helper who appears when everything is hopeless. In the real versions, it's not even a fairy godmother. It's a tree that grows from her mother's grave, or birds that help her dress, or an old woman who materializes at the moment of crisis. This is the fantasy version of something desperately missing in real life. An adult who finally sees what's happening, who believes her, who steps in to protect her. Because in the real version of this story, nobody does. Her father doesn't, her family doesn't, the servants don't. She's completely alone. So here's the question. How did a story about abuse and survival become a movie about kindness and patience? Jump to 1950, post-war America. The culture is desperate for the perfect family, obedient wives, traditional gender roles, the fantasy that if you're just good enough, rescue will come. Disney didn't create this fantasy. They packaged it. They kept the stepmother. They kept the dress transformation. They kept the romantic ending. But they erased the trauma, the self-harm, the violence, the consequences. They took a story about surviving abuse and turned it into an advertisement for patience and positivity. Be kind. Be quiet. Wait for rescue. Your reward will come. Except that's not how abuse works, and it's definitely not how escape works. In a real abusive situation, being kind doesn't make it stop. Waiting doesn't save you. An escape is just the beginning of recovery, not the end. But Disney couldn't tell you that, because in 1950, America didn't want to hear it. Here's what these stories are really teaching. For a child in a difficult home, fantasy becomes oxygen. It's the only way to survive when reality is unbearable. Cinderella's belief system runs on 3 core fantasies. 1, if I'm good enough, things will get better. 2, someone will finally see what's happening and help me. 3, if I can just escape once, everything will be fixed forever. She doesn't fight back. She doesn't run. She doesn't tell anyone what's happening. She scrubs the floors. She stares at the stars through the window. She waits by the fire. She waits for a miracle. But here's the truth that nobody tells you. Real life doesn't work like that. Being kind doesn't stop abuse. Rescue doesn't always come, and escape alone doesn't erase years of trauma. But we keep telling this story, not because it's accurate, because it's the wish that millions of people hold on to, the hope that someone will see them, save them, prove they were valuable all along. That's why Cinderella never dies. Not because it's romantic, because it speaks to something real in the human experience. So here's what we found when we reopened this case. Cinderella isn't a love story. It's a story about power and control, and what happens when someone has no choice and no one to help them. We still tell girls to be small, to be quiet, to shrink themselves to fit other people's expectations. We just hide it under prettier words now, under love songs, under hashtags about self-improvement. The slipper was never about destiny or fate. It was about control, about forcing a human being into a shape that was never meant for them. So when you watch Cinderella next time, remember this. Every version of this story, from Grimm to Disney to TikTok, is still teaching the same lesson. Be small, be good, wait for rescue. And we're still teaching it to your daughters, to your sisters, to the girls in your life. The case isn't closed, it's still open.